I'm Carrie. Standing in what used to be Uncle Henry's office, I watched the stock price of the newly acquired Sterling Industries soar on the monitor. The headlines blared across the news ticker: Sterling Industries acquired in surprise takeover by Nova Capital. Family dynasty crumbles. It was a moment I'd been waiting for, a sweet revenge for years of being underestimated. I cast my mind back to that fateful annual Sterling family business dinner at Aunt Vivian's grand estate. As I stood in the doorway, the opulent dining room was a flurry of activity. Crystal chandeliers sparkled, and expensive suits glistened under the soft light. My cousins, Ryan and Lily, sat at the table with their partners, wearing their Sterling Industries badges with pride. The so-called important guests were investors they'd been trying to court for months, completely oblivious that they had already signed deals with my company, Nova Capital. Aunt Vivian greeted me with a fake smile. "Oh, Carrie, you're here. We're a bit tight with these important guests. Why don't you sit in the kitchen? You'll be more at ease there." I looked at the beautifully set table and the confident faces of my cousins. They had no idea that I, the one they thought was running a small fry consulting firm, had built Nova Capital into one of the most powerful private equity firms in the country. Ryan sneered. "Still doing that little consulting gig? We're always hiring entry-level positions at Sterling. You might even be fit for one." I just smiled and smoothed down my simple yet elegant black dress, a custom Armani that they'd surely think was off the rack. "I'm doing just fine," I replied and took my seat in the kitchen. From the dining room, I could hear Lily bragging. "Did you hear about our latest $400 million acquisition?" But of course, Carrie wouldn't understand such big numbers. I suppressed a laugh, thinking about the multi-billion-dollar deals I'd closed last quarter. Nova Capital had been quietly buying up Sterling's suppliers, partners, and competitors. This dinner was their last hurrah. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was my CFO, Emily. She knew better than to call during family events unless it was urgent. "Excuse me," I said, ignoring Aunt Vivian's scowl. Emily's voice came through clearly. "MS. Carrie, the final paperwork for the Sterling Industries acquisition is ready. Their board has secretly approved the sale. Should we announce it tomorrow?" I stood up and walked closer to the dining room door. "Put it on speaker, Emily. I want to hear every detail." As Emily's voice filled the kitchen, the room fell silent. "The purchase price is set at $2.6 billion, well above market value considering their recent losses. But as you predicted, their desperation to sell before the scandal breaks made them accept." I watched as the color drained from Uncle Henry's face. He realized the confidential deal he thought was safe was in my hands. I spoke up. "We've secured 65% of the voting shares through the shares we've acquired and proxy agreements. The family will only have a minority stake with no operational control." Lily's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the tablecloth. Ryan jumped up so fast his chair fell over. One of the investors asked, "What's going on?" I walked calmly into the dining room, phone still on speaker. "Just finalizing some business, Mr. Thompson. I believe your firm signed support agreements with Nova last week." Uncle Henry whispered. "Nova? You're working with Nova Capital?" I smiled and finally dropped the facade. "Not exactly. I am Nova Capital, its founder and CEO. And as of tomorrow, I'm the new owner of Sterling Industries." The silence was deafening. Years of being dismissed, being sent to the kitchen, and being treated as inferior were about to be repaid. My phone buzzed again. It was the perfect timing. Uncle Henry's voice shook as he stood up. "What did you just say?" I suggested we continue in private, glancing at the intrigued investors. In Uncle Henry's study, the explosion I'd anticipated finally came. Lily hissed, "You manipulative snake. How dare you embarrass us like this?" I perched on the edge of his desk, the same desk where he'd once told me I wasn't Sterling material. "Embarrass you? You've embarrassed me for years, making me eat in the kitchen, excluding me from meetings, treating me like a charity case." Aunt Vivian insisted. "We were protecting you. You weren't ready for the business world." I pulled out my phone and showed them Nova's financial reports. Current market cap, $15 billion. Annual revenue, $4 billion. Net profit margin 30%. Tell me again how I wasn't ready. Ryan grabbed the phone, his hands shaking. This is impossible. You're just a small-time consultant. I smiled. That was my cover. While you were all looking down on me, I was building something bigger than Sterling could ever be. I own you now. Uncle Henry protested. The board would never approve. I pulled out a stack of documents. Remember the emergency meeting last week about the mysterious buyer? That was me. Through shell companies, Nova controls the majority. Aunt Vivian sank into a chair. But where did you get the money? I reminded them of the app I developed in college, the one they'd all laughed at. I sold it for $60 million and invested every cent. I built Nova from the ground up while you were too busy mocking me. Lily paced the room. This is revenge, isn't it? I replied, no, it's business. Sterling is undervalued and poorly managed. The fact that it's my family's business is just an added bonus. My phone buzzed again. Emily was sending the final contracts. There's one more thing. The merger announcement goes public at 9 a.m. tomorrow. But the press release isn't just about the acquisition. Sterling has been covering up financial irregularities. Unless you all resign tonight, no golden parachutes, no board seats. You'll keep your shares as minority stakes in Nova, and I won't release the evidence. Aunt Vivian stood up. You wouldn't dare. We're family. I laughed. Was I family when you made me eat in the kitchen? When you told clients I was the cleaning staff? When you denied me the promotion I'd earned? I gave them an hour to decide. As I walked out, Lily called. Where are you going? I turned back. I believe there's an empty seat at the head of the table now. The next day, as I sat in Uncle Henry's old office, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. They were all pleading with me, talking about family and legacy. I forwarded their messages to my legal team with a note to document the harassment. My assistant informed me that my family was in the lobby. They looked disheveled and desperate. I called them up for their exit interviews. Uncle Henry tried to fix things, but I opened a folder full of years of exclusion and denied opportunities. These aren't grievances, they're my motivations. Lily cried about their jobs and reputations. I told them they'd have to interview like everyone else. Ryan suggested we work together, but I reminded him that Nova was acquiring all rights to the Sterling brand. I introduced the new management team, a group of young, talented women and minorities who'd been overlooked by the old Sterling regime. Success isn't inherited, it's earned, I said. Aunt Vivian whispered, this is revenge. I corrected her. This is business, something you claimed I'd never understand. And I offered Lily a position as the kitchen staff manager. Later that evening, as I walked through the empty offices, the cleaning crew was replacing the Sterling logos with Nova symbol. My phone buzzed with a text from the family group chat I'd been excluded from for years, inviting me to a family dinner. I replied, sorry, busy with a merger, but I hear the kitchen has great seats, and then blocked the number. The scared girl they'd banished to the kitchen was gone. In her place was a CEO who knew that the best revenge was not just taking over their company but running it better than they ever could. I was just getting started. Success wasn't about where you sat at the table. It was about owning the whole restaurant.